Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to talk about seasonal storytelling in Destiny 2 and why the road from Lightfall to the final shape is so much different than anything we have ever experienced within Destiny so far, and will be different from anything we experience afterwards. So jumping right into it, I know there's a lot of complaints from folks about the seasonal storytelling and it being so closely tied with the mainline Light versus Dark saga, but I think it's absolutely necessary. This year, above any before or after, is the culmination, the send-off for the longtime Destiny players who have been playing since day one of D1, who have seen this saga have its highs and lows, and really want to experience this story for all its glory. Now, whether you enjoy the way it's delivered is one thing, whether you think the story is being told well, another thing, but I think overall, having this year be about those veteran players more so than the new players is important because we're going to see some drastic change after the final shape, in my personal opinion. Not only to the way the seasonal model works and the seasonal storytelling, but also to the way that the content is delivered depending on the platform, because we may very well see sooner than later Xbox One, PlayStation 4, those get left behind, some overhauls to the engine, all this kind of good stuff. And so there may be gaps in content, there may be time periods where we don't see anything new with Destiny. There's a lot of changing factors right now that we're waiting to see how that's all going to play out. Whereas right now, all the focus should be on the final shape. And that's why I actually enjoy everything in the story being built towards the final shape. Yes, you have to buy the seasonal pass, the individual seasons, whatever the case may be, in order to experience it. However, they do have those cutscenes and whatnot on YouTube as well if you want to check those out instead. But I think it's absolutely vital that they tie the whole narrative together. One criticism that we've gotten in the past with seasons like Black Armory and stuff like that, they haven't felt connected to any part of the story, and so they all feel like almost standalone seasons that don't really vibe with the narrative of what's going on in the rest of the Destiny universe. And so while that is cool, and I do enjoy that from time to time, I think this year it is important to have it all seamlessly flow together. And the reason being is that the full focus of the universe should be on this saga, right? We have the Witness making an appearance. We have the Darkness ships now have fully arrived. We have the Traveler being attached by the veil, essentially. So I think there's a lot of reasons to tie all of that stuff together and keep it closely related. And that is why the storytelling has evolved in that way for this year alone. A lot of people are looking forward to the future and being like, this is no way to tell the story, but knowing that we're going to not only have it on YouTube, but also a lot of the cutscenes and stuff are going to be available in-game to kind of explain the story towards the final shape as well. It's absolutely vital that they do this and they continue this seasonal storytelling to keep it closely related to the final shape, because it's only for 1 year. Everyone, I think, in my mind, is very short-sighted. This is not the time where you're really going to be focusing on new players. I don't think there's that many people trying out Destiny 2 for the first time right now, especially without significant overhauls that we're probably going to see with the final shape. Changes to not only the storytelling, but also the way content is delivered. So overall, I think this is absolutely necessary, and it's the kind of storytelling that I kind of miss, because I'm kind of on the edge of my seat every week waiting to see what's going to happen next. Whether you enjoy it or not, I personally do. I think we found out a lot of good information that's been delivered through a lot of different types of content, from the Veil containment to the seasonal story to the extra Lightfall campaign missions that we got. There's a lot of that stuff, and whether you want to say it's cut or not doesn't matter to me, because those extra Lightfall missions did come eventually, and it's hard when you're trying to tell this story that you want to go in a certain order and everyone wants all the information right away, whereas they wanted Lightfall to be this action adventure, kind of rushing to kind of defeat Callus, and then we got the mystery of the Veil for the next 2 seasons, and then the 2 seasons after that we're hunting the Witness and trying to find out what new information we can find to track him down, and we learned about the Witness's origin and all this stuff. And for me, I just think a lack of patience is the biggest issue with the community right now. Everyone is frustrated because the gameplay has been so stagnant for a while, and I fully understand that. I do think that more innovation is needed with Destiny 2. However, I don't think that's a fault of the story. I do think that with the lack of pinnacles needed in Season of the Deep, it has hurt the story a little bit, because people, instead of logging on, doing the story, and then doing their pinnacles and doing your strikes and your crucible and everything, now there's a lack of direction of things to do that leaves that gap and has people playing either deep dives or something like that a little bit more than they otherwise would have. So now they are burning out on that stuff a bit faster as well. There's not enough content there to keep people going like they are used to playing, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I personally, for the last couple years, have only been playing like 2 to 3 days a week, and I'll put my hours in. I have more than most in Destiny 2, but I do think there's a disconnect with people who want to play this all the time, and they didn't want the pinnacle system anymore, and now that it's been removed, they don't have anything to do. So I find that very fascinating. But again, I think that's hurt the seasonal story, because it's felt like log on, do the story, and then there's nothing else really to do, and that's where the issues lie in that. Overall, I'm enjoying the story. I think the seasonal storytelling is something that is hard to do, right? Is like, you want it to be important, you want it to be impactful to the viewer, to the player, whatever the case may be. You want to impart some important knowledge and some wow moments. We've seen that in the last 2 seasons as well. There have been some moments that have you kind of a little shocked overall, and I think that's important. But it's also, again, there's only so much they're going to pack in to each and every season as they're working on the next one and the next one and the next one. So I don't know what the status will be going forward as far as the final shape hits, but I do think the delivery method is going to be much, much different. We're not going to see the seasons so closely tied to the next expansion and be essentially mandatory, and that's okay. I think this year it makes a ton of sense to do that, whereas going forward, you're going to want to have people experiencing everything almost like a standalone situation. That way they get a lot more different stories, they can meet new characters, meet new allies, meet new enemies, all that kind of good stuff, maybe explore new locations that you might not have otherwise been able to, and that's what we'll see after the final shape, in my personal opinion. Although I also feel like we should get a break from Destiny 2 content, and I would love to see no new seasons for like 6 months or something, so that when they come back with the seasons and the storytelling, it could be a lot more innovative and a little bit more forward thinking. Because right now I think they're putting out so much content, they're doing so much with all of these expansions and the seasons and stuff. The community is tired, the developers are tired, and the whole game as a whole is a little bit tired and needs a bit of juice, and that juice will only come through innovation. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Destiny 2 content from me like this going forward. I definitely like to talk about some of the more controversial topics and give my thoughts. I know not everyone's going to agree with me, and that's fine. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. My name is JoPa. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.